Yo, what is up, you guys? Welcome back to Landed Fishing. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit more different than usual. Today we're going to be going over a few tips and tricks to help you guys catch more bass in your everyday fishing adventures. So here we go. So guys, as you saw from the slide, the first step is to fish all levels of the water. Now I have gone ahead and made a slide and categorized all the baits, or well, most of the key baits that most of us will use when bass fishing, into 3 different levels of water. So the first level of water, also known as top water, I have baits like jitterbugs, poppers, frogs, buzz baits. So this is basically anything that stays on the top of the water and floats and draws in fish by them coming to the surface. Second level of water is like in the middle of top and bottom essentially. And you have stuff like crankbaits with not that big of bills, so like square bills. You have lipless crankbaits, jerk baits, spinner baits. These are now just remember these are just a few of the examples of what could be used in these categories, and you get the general gist of it. And lastly, guys, you have the deepest level of water. So this is going to be the closest stuff to the bottom, and most of the time the stuff that hits the bottom. So starting off, we have jigs, crankbaits with larger bills. So the larger the bill, if you guys didn't know, the deeper it goes, and a variety of soft plastics, I guess, depending on how you rig them. So Texas rig with weights in the front will mostly hit the bottom and they'll bounce off the bottom, and that's why I classify them down now. Now there is more potentially that you guys would use, and you guys can feel free to let me know in the comment section, but I just chose these 3 because they were a few of the ones that are the most common. So the whole goal, guys, with these 3 levels of water is to divide the baits that you need to fish with. So you want to cover all 3 levels of water, because let's just think about this for a second. You fish just the top water layer, and you fish a popper all day long, and you don't have any action. Well, that might be because the fish are sitting in these middle and lower depths, and you're not covering them by using a top water lure. So that's the importance of using these different levels of water and making sure you're fishing with baits from each of these 3 categories to cover all 3 of these levels of water. Because like I mentioned earlier, if you're just fishing 1 or 2 of these levels, you could potentially be missing fish. So yeah, guys, that's step 1. So guys, step number 2 is casting in all directions, essentially like a clock. That's an easy way to think about it. And basically just covering the whole area of the pond with cast. So this combined with fishing all 3 depths of water is almost guaranteed to yield fish, just because you're covering every possible bit of water at every depth. So to go into this a little bit more, I hope you guys like my really crappy diagram. If you look at the where this stupid guy is casting his line, you can see that he's going all the way around the pond. He's not missing any areas. So guys, by using this method, you're going to cover, like I said earlier, you're going to cover everywhere. So you're not going to miss where a fish is. So you guys can see in this really bad diagram, you can see I've placed fish around there. He's gonna cast in or like near or around every single one of them. So every single fish is gonna have an opportunity to see this bait presented in front of them, and they will have to decide whether or not they want to strike. So yeah, that's step 2, guys, casting in a clock. So guys, this third and final step, I know it's kind of obvious, but I feel like it's worth reiterating over and over and over again just because of how important it is when it comes to fishing. So as you'll notice in some of my videos, I tend to twitch my rod sometimes, especially when fishing for bass. And there's 2 main ways you can do this depending on what you're fishing with. So the first is kind of when you're fishing with like crankbaits and lures with already like a set pattern of movement. So basically anything aside from plastics, basically. And it's just a twitch. Just give your rod a bump, just so it makes that lure or whatever you're using come to life a bit more. And the second method is with worms or soft plastics. You can also do the twitching method to give it a little bit more life, but I tend to find a lot of success with this rise and fall action. So you lift your rod tip up, maybe twitch it a few times on the way up, and just let it sink to the bottom. And oftentimes, fish love to hit it on that bottom when it falls down. And that's the third step, guys, how to make your bait come to life. I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. You can let me know if you did in the comments section. Feel free to give it a like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time on Landed Fishing.